How many of y'all were spanked as children? Both of you, kind of you. Okay. 2/3 of Americans still approve of spanking their kids. There are even some states that still allow corporal punishment in schools. This involves paddling children on hands and sometimes even hitting them on their behinds. Alabama and Georgia are actually two of those states that still allow corporal punishment. Some believe spanking is still an effective form of punishment for some children. However, I would like to argue against spanking. Most healthcare professionals do not support spanking as a form of punishment. A recent survey of 1,500 pediatricians found that over 75% of them did not find it as a successful form of physical punishment, or any type of punishment. I would like to propose an end to spanking as a form of punishment, due to many outcomes like aggression, mental health issues, being harmful, only a quick fix, and humiliating for children. In return, I will also give you some disciplinary options that do not involve spanking. After 5 decades of study, the University of Texas found that the more children are spanked, the more likely they are to defy their parents and experience antisocial behavior, aggression, mental health problems, cognitive difficulties, and more. However, these are not the only outcomes of spanking. Parents who decide to use this form of punishment do not realize that there are actually long-term outcomes that may show up later in their children's life. Spanking can cause aggression. Children who are punished physically when they were younger are more likely to choose physical violence, like hitting or punching their friends and family, to resolve their conflicts. Parents who had been spanked during their childhood also see spanking as an acceptable form of punishment and frequently spank their kids. Recent studies have shown that corporal punishment, like paddling in schools, can also cause increased aggression and make it more likely for children to choose defiance in the future. Corporal punishment is still legal in 19 out of the 50 states. Like I said, Alabama and Georgia are two of those states. Spanking can also cause mental health issues. The 2009 study of 23 young adults who had repeated exposure to harsh corporal punishment found reduced gray matter in the brain. And it was found in the prefrontal cortex, which is believed to play a crucial role in social cognition. It has been proven that children who were harshly punished, spanking being one of those punishments, had a lower IQ. A recent study of the University of Manitoba found that spanking had similar outcomes to those experienced in adverse child experiences, including physical, emotional, and sexual abuse, and physical and emotional neglect. The study authors found that children who were spanked were more likely to suffer from depressive effects in adulthood, including moderate to heavy drinking, drug abuse, and even sometimes suicide. Dr. Jillian Roberts, a family psychologist and professor at the University of Victoria, says that having physical pain inflicted on a child from their parent or guardian can decrease the emotional bond between the two, resulting in the child being more vulnerable to tough situations, which can spiral into mental health issues like depression and anxiety. Spanking is also harmful. Spanking is indeed considered a violation of human rights. Alison Schaffner, a Toronto-based family counselor and author of Honey, I Wrecked the Kids, says if you strike an adult, it's called assault, but for some reason, if you hit a 12-year-old, it's considered that you're using reasonable force, and it's okay. It's ageist. Physical and psychological violence fall under the definition of violence against children. Therefore, spanking is considered violence against children, legalized. Which, like it has already been said, physical, psychological, and emotional acts like spanking can leave extremely severe impacts on the development of young children. Spanking is often only a quick fix. Dr. Alan Kasdan of Yale University says that you cannot just simply punish behaviors that you do not want. It doesn't work. Therefore, spanking does not work. Research is against this form of punishment. It is not an effective technique, and it is deemed disrespectful against children. Physical punishment is only a short-term stop to problematic behavior, but that is just because children are scared of being hit. A 2016 analysis of multiple studies that children do not benefit from this form of punishment. Certainly you can get a child's attention, but it's not an effective strategy to teach right from wrong, says Dr. Robert Siege, a pediatrician at Tufts Medical Center and the Floating Hospital for Children in Boston. Yet, given all of this information, some guardians still hit their kids out of a lack of self-control. Spanking is humiliating. Imagine getting in trouble by your mother in front of all of your friends at a dinner party, and instead of her calling you into another room to talk about it, she just turns you over and hits you right in the middle of the room for everyone to see. Would that not embarrass you? Some parents or guardians choose to punish their children by spanking them in front of people in front of like a classroom or something to get the point across. That is public display of humiliation. It's inhumane. If it is not okay for adults, then why is it okay for children who are actually more sensitive to adults? Imagine how scarred their brain is at such a young age. Dr. Siege also said one of the most important relationships we all have is the relationships between ourselves and our parents. And it makes sense to eliminate or limit fear and violence in that loving relationship. So if physical punishment causes fear in the relationship with your child, what is the point of doing it? Research shows that spanking is simply just not effective and it does more harm than good. Some people will argue that spanking works for some children and does make the behavior stop. Another argument is that they were spanked as kids and they turned out okay. Well, I have an argument for that. I too was not spanked as a child and I turned out okay too. Consequently, there are better ways to discipline a child. You can stop someone from running by hitting them in the knees, but there are better ways to stop somebody from running that does not cause harmful effects. I will now offer other better ways to discipline children that do not involve spanking. Positive reinforcement and praise toward children for good behavior. Instead of punishing for behavior that you do not like, reward for behavior that you do like. Give allowance for doing chores, or extra television and iPad time for good grades, or give them dessert for eating all of their dinner. Stuff like that can help children. Place child in timeout. Make a calm area for your child to go to when they are throwing a tantrum. Children throw tantrums when they feel overwhelmed, much like adults. Instead of punishment for feeling this way, give them time to cool off. Plus, a lack of attention will make a difference. Take away their privileges. Spanking hurts for a second, but 24 hours without the iPad also hurts. Find something that your child just cannot live without, whether it's television time or playing outside with your friends, and then take it away to get the point across that a certain behavior needs to stop. Selective ignoring. This is when you just simply don't pay attention to your child when they're whining or complaining, because they're likely doing that because they want your attention. So in return, just pretend that you can't hear them. Once they behave nicely, reward them by turning your attention back to them. Direct consequence. If your child is refusing to pick up their toys, just don't allow them to play with their toys for the rest of the evening. This shows that a specific behavior will have a specific consequence. Natural consequence. Allow them to make their own mistake and learn from it if it is safe enough. If they refuse to wear their shoes outside, let them see what it's like to go outside and play without their shoes and get bug bites. Just have some Band-Aids and a bug bite cream ready for them when they come back in due to their discomfort. Effective discipline involves practicing empathy and understanding how to treat your child in different stages of development to teach them how to cool down when things do get explosive, said Dr. Vincent J. Pelusi, a child abuse pediatrician at Hazenfield Children's Hospital at NYU. In conclusion, I would like for parents to consider the long-term impacts they might have on their children by choosing a short-term lack of self-control. Aggression, mental health issues, harmful effects, it being only a quick fix, and humiliation are not worth the choice of spanking as punishment. I would like to encourage parents to consider the other options that they have, not involving physical punishment, like positive reinforcement, timeout, lack of privileges, and natural consequence. Let's push towards a world with less physical harm, starting with the end of spanking. Thank you.
I thought it was great.
Wait. What'd you think, Bambi?